Venezuela, once the richest country in South America, home to the world's largest proven oil reserves, a land of opportunity and prosperity. Today, it's a nation in crisis. Millions have fled. Hyperinflation has destroyed the currency. Necessities are scarce. Democracy itself hangs in the balance. At the center of this transformation stands one man, Nicolás Maduro. This is the story of how a former bus driver became one of the most controversial leaders in the world, a tale of power, ideology, economic collapse, and international controversy. This is the complete history of Nicolás Maduro. Nicolás Maduro Moros was born on November 23, 1962, in Caracas, Venezuela. He grew up in a working-class neighborhood, the son of a union leader. His early life was far removed from the corridors of power he would eventually walk. Young Maduro attended public school and showed an early interest in politics and music. He played in a rock band, dreaming of becoming a professional musician. But life had other plans. In his late teens, Maduro began working as a bus driver for the Caracas metro system. It was here, among the working class, that his political consciousness took shape. He became involved in union activities, fighting for workers' rights and better conditions. The 1980s were turbulent times in Venezuela. Economic instability and political corruption had created widespread discontent. Maduro found himself drawn deeper into leftist politics, influenced by the ideals of Simón Bolívar and socialist principles. In 1986, he helped found a new political party called the Movement for Socialism. This wasn't just student politics or casual activism. Maduro was becoming a serious political operative, building networks and learning the art of organization. During this period, he traveled to Cuba for political training. This experience would prove formative, establishing connections that would last throughout his career. He studied political organizing, revolutionary theory, and the mechanics of maintaining power. But the event that would change everything came in 1992. A young military officer named Hugo Chávez attempted a coup against the Venezuelan government. Though the coup failed, Chávez's televised speech accepting responsibility captivated the nation. He became an instant folk hero to many, including Nicolás Maduro. When Chávez was released from prison in 1994, Maduro became one of his earliest and most dedicated supporters. He helped organize the movement that would eventually bring Chávez to power through democratic elections in 1998. This partnership would define the rest of Maduro's life. Hugo Chávez's election in 1998 marked a seismic shift in Venezuelan politics. He promised a Bolivarian revolution that would redistribute wealth, challenge American influence, and create what he called 21st-century socialism. Maduro was there from the beginning, one of Chávez's most trusted confidants. His loyalty and organizational skills earned him increasingly important positions. In 2000, Maduro was elected to the National Assembly. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming Speaker of the Assembly in 2005. He wasn't the most charismatic speaker or the most intellectual theorist, but he had something perhaps more valuable: unwavering loyalty to Chávez. During these years, Venezuela experienced both boom and controversy. High oil prices filled government coffers, enabling the funding of ambitious social programs. Poverty rates fell. Literacy improved. Millions gained access to health care and education for the first time. But there were warning signs. Democratic institutions were being weakened. Press freedom came under attack. Private businesses were nationalized. Political opponents faced increasing harassment. The economy became dangerously dependent on oil revenue. Chávez appointed Maduro as foreign minister in 2006. In this role, Maduro traveled the world, building relationships with countries often at odds with the United States: Iran, Syria, Russia, and China. He became the face of Venezuela's foreign policy, promoting anti-imperialism and South-South cooperation. Maduro wasn't known for diplomatic finesse. He was blunt, sometimes confrontational, but he effectively advanced Chávez's vision of a multipolar world order. Then, in June 2011, Chávez dropped a bombshell. He had cancer. The diagnosis was kept secret at first, but eventually Chávez had to reveal his illness. He underwent multiple surgeries and treatments in Cuba. The strong man who had dominated Venezuelan politics for over a decade was suddenly mortal. In October 2012, Chávez appointed Maduro as vice president. The message was clear. Maduro was the chosen successor. Chávez won re-election that same year, but his health continued to deteriorate. He traveled to Cuba for another surgery in December 2012 and never returned alive. On March 5, 2013, Hugo Chávez died at age 58. Venezuela was in shock. Millions mourned the leader they saw as a champion of the poor. Others saw an opportunity for change. The question everyone asked was, what happens now? According to the Venezuelan constitution, when a president dies before completing his first year of a new term, the vice president assumes power, and elections must be held within 30 days. Maduro became the acting president immediately. He stood before the nation with tears in his eyes, announcing Chávez's death. "The commander has died," he said, his voice breaking. What followed was unlike any election Venezuela had ever seen. Maduro ran as the heir to Chávez, constantly invoking his mentor's memory. Campaign rallies felt more like religious gatherings. Maduro claimed Chávez appeared to him as a bird, giving him blessings. He positioned himself not just as a candidate, but as the guardian of Chávez's legacy. His opponent was Henrique Capriles, a young governor who had lost to Chávez just 6 months earlier. Capriles ran on a platform of change, promising to maintain social programs while fixing the economy and restoring democratic institutions. The election on April 14, 2013, was extremely close. Maduro won by just 1.5 percentage points, the narrowest margin in Venezuelan history. He received 50.6% of the vote, compared to Capriles's 49.1%. Immediately, controversy erupted. The opposition claimed fraud, pointing to irregularities at polling stations. They demanded a full recount. Protests erupted in cities across Venezuela. Several people died in the unrest. Maduro refused a complete recount, and the Electoral Council, controlled by government supporters, certified his victory. International observers were divided. Some accepted the results, others raised concerns. Unlike Chávez, who had won elections decisively, Maduro's mandate was questionable from day one. He lacked his predecessor's charisma and natural connection with people. He didn't command the same loyalty from the military or the masses. But he had the institutions of power behind him, and he was determined to hold on. If Maduro's political legitimacy was questionable, his economic management would prove disastrous. Venezuela's economy had problems long before Maduro took office. The country had become dangerously dependent on oil, which accounted for 95% of export earnings. Other industries had been neglected or nationalized into inefficiency. Price controls and currency restrictions created distortions throughout the economy. But under Maduro, these problems spiraled into catastrophe. In 2014, global oil prices began to fall. Venezuela's primary source of revenue collapsed. A competent government might have adjusted, made difficult reforms, and attracted investment. Instead, Maduro's response made everything worse. Rather than address fundamental problems, the government printed money to cover deficits. The result was hyperinflation on a scale rarely seen in modern history. By 2018, the inflation rate exceeded 1,000,000%. Money became essentially worthless. People carried bags of cash to buy basic goods, if those goods were available at all. Food shortages became severe. Supermarket shelves sat empty. People waited in lines for hours hoping to buy rice, flour, or medicine. Malnutrition increased. Diseases that had been eradicated returned. The healthcare system collapsed. Hospitals ran out of basic supplies. Doctors and nurses fled the country for better opportunities abroad. Infant mortality rates increased. Life expectancy fell for the first time in decades. The middle class was wiped out. Professionals, engineers, doctors, and teachers saw their savings become worthless overnight. Many joined the growing exodus of Venezuelans fleeing the country. Maduro's government blamed everyone but itself. International sanctions, economic warfare, opposition sabotage, a conspiracy led by the United States and Colombian oligarchs.
While sanctions did hurt the economy, particularly after 2017, the fundamental problems were homegrown, the result of years of mismanagement and corruption. Maduro also faced growing internal challenges. In 2014 and 2015, massive protests erupted across Venezuela. Students, opposition groups, and ordinary citizens took to the streets demanding change. The government's response was brutal. Security forces used tear gas, rubber bullets, and live ammunition against protesters. Dozens were killed, hundreds were arrested. Political leaders were jailed on dubious charges. Leopoldo Lopez, a prominent opposition figure, was sentenced to nearly 14 years in prison for allegedly inciting violence. The real crime, many believed, was challenging Maduro's authority. In December 2015, the opposition won a landslide victory in legislative elections.